pop there, Muse? Probably did. No, probably didn't, because the intro music is playing over my intro. I do that just because, you gotta have intro music. Anyway, my knee popped. It's crazy. That's what happens when you get old. Look, we've always got something good to talk about. And given how crappy this year has been on every conceivable level, I thought I would talk about something mostly good. Maybe it would be considered a good piece of advice. Maybe. Now, as I am wont to do, I'm going to hearken this back to the days when I taught acting. And even further back to the days when I was taught acting. Back in grad school. Yeah, way back. Yeah, that was quite a while ago, Muse. Way back in grad school, I had the pleasure of working with a very fine director. He was the chairman of the department at Purdue while I was there, and his name was Jim O'Connor. Now, Jim had a reputation for being fairly, he was rough. He would only accept your best work, period. He really pushed you. And my first year and a half at grad school, he didn't like me so much. I don't know why, he just didn't like me so much. And then I got cast in a show with him called The Immigrant. It's a beautiful, beautiful show. And our relationship changed. Now, the relationship didn't just change because I really worked my ass off on that show and gave everything I had to it. But what it did was it proved to that director that I had the stuff and that I followed one of his biggest pieces of advice to young actors. And that piece of advice was to never say no. When a director asks you, can you do this? You say, yes, I can. And if you can't, you go home, you leave rehearsal, and you figure out how to do it. Because the second you say no to that director, when he says, can you do X? Or she says, can you do X? And you say, no, I cannot do X. They're going to find somebody that can do X. That's just the way the business works. So when a director says, can you do X? You say, yes, I can do X. And you hope that that director doesn't say, well, show me X right now. And if they do say, show me X, you say, well, I'd rather work on it first because it's been a while since I've done X. So give me a chance to go home tonight and work on X, and then I'll come back and I'll do X for you tomorrow. And hopefully that will satisfy the director. And that's what I did. Every time he would ask me to do X, I would do X. And when he would ask me to do Y, I would do Y. And when he would ask me to do Z, I'd do Z. It didn't matter. Because I understood at that point that an actor had to do whatever an actor had to do to get the job done. Even if that means being a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I'm not talking about doing things that you shouldn't do. I'm not talking about doing things that are illegal or amoral. You know what I mean. I'm talking about, hey, can you tap dance with swim fins? You say, heck yeah, I can tap dance with swim fins. And in the back of your head, you go, okay, first, where do I get swim fins? And can I find a space to practice tapping with swim fins tonight before I have to come back for rehearsal tomorrow? You see what I mean. Now, how does that relate to the world of writing? I like to think, as you know, Muse, I like to think that all aspects of art transcend the boundaries of the medium in which they are generally used in. Because I think that if we box ourselves in, if we compartmentalize our art, we are shortchanging all of the art that we do. Now, I mentioned last week or the week before, one of our last conversations, I mentioned, and maybe it's even longer than that, I mentioned a project that I am involved in. Now, I guess I can give you a little bit more information about that project, Muse. Well, one particular theater company, because of COVID, they had to keep keeping on. Otherwise, they knew that at the end of the day, they might not be able to carry on beyond this pandemic. So what they did, they devised a pretty brilliant idea in that they were going to have a season filled with one-person shows, because they could rehearse one-person shows safely. Because at the rehearsal, there would only need to be the director and the actor there. They can socially distance, they can wear masks. Great. So they have produced, filmed, and streamed all of those one-person shows. Well, the artistic director wanted for the last production, he wanted himself to perform the last one-person show, and he wanted it to be about Oscar Wilde. And he looked around and he tried to find a script about Oscar Wilde that was satisfactory and that he could actually get his hands on. And he thought he found one, but he couldn't. He reached out to the author, and the author never responded. And so that one failed. And I guess the others that he thought about weren't good enough or specific enough, or they were just kind of all the same. So I know this artistic director, and we were doing something together. We were working on a project together, and he mentioned this. And I said, I'll try it. I'll write you one. I wasn't thinking in the back. I wasn't processing everything. I wasn't thinking in the back of my head, am I capable of writing a play about Oscar Wilde? Now, I have written stage plays. I've written a number of them. I've had some of them produced even. But I've never written anything about Oscar Wilde. And quite frankly, I didn't know a whole lot about Oscar Wilde. I knew his plays. I knew some of his poems. And so had I stopped and had I stopped my big brain from going, oh, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and said, brain, can you really do this? Are you really capable of writing a very personal, very intimate script about Oscar Wilde, a man you don't know that much about? Had I stopped myself, I might have said, maybe I can't. And in the doing, I would lose an opportunity. An opportunity, for me, that is also a foot in the door of somewhere that I've wanted to get in for a while. Because I have another script that I've written called The Most Fabulous Murder Mystery that I want to get into this theater. And I thought, if I get this written, if I prove myself to this director here, I might be able to get this other script in. See how the wheels work? So I said yes. I said, yes, I can do this. Let me try. And the director said, sure. And then there was a pause. The director said, I'm going to try to reach out to this other author first. And if I can get them, then you won't have to. I said, okay, that's fine. A week or two later, he came back to me and said, are you still interested? I said, yes, of course, I'm still interested. I want to write this play. And he said, okay. I said yes. I said yes because I knew it would open a door. I said yes because I knew that it would be a tremendous challenge for me, and I do like a good challenge. I said yes because I don't like to say no. I said yes because it pushes me forward. Saying no does two things. One of two things. It either stops you in your tracks or it pushes you backwards. Now, the danger in always saying yes, and I have fallen victim to this on a number of occasions, constantly actually, is I don't know when to say no. Now, I have actually said no on occasion when someone has reached out to me to say, hey, are you interested in writing this series for me or interested in writing this? And then I vet the person and I think, no. Or I'm just way too overloaded because I get way too, I write over 1 million words a year. I write a lot. So I do know when to say no. I know when it is better for me professionally and personally to say no. I also know when yes is the only option. I also know when yes will further my career. I also know when yes is, in fact, the best choice. Now, the thing is, and one of the reasons why I wanted to mention this, is simply because of the nature of this project. It was a little daunting. It was a bit scary because I didn't know much about Oscar Wilde, but I have faith in my abilities. I trust my skill, and I trust my instinct, and my instinct said, yes, do this. Because even if it were a struggle, even if it was a challenge, when I come out on the other side of this challenge, I will be better for it. I will not only have learned something, I will have proven myself. And that goes a really long way in the world of art. And yes, it has been a challenge. What I have been doing is, I'm not going to tell, I don't want to give anything away because I want people to see this. I want people, because number one, the artistic director that is going to perform this is a really talented actor. And I want people to see the work. But what I have been doing is I have been taking bits and pieces of Oscar Wilde's work, of his words, his quotes, and there's especially one particular work that is driving this forward, and I have been melding it together with my own words and blending them such that they all seem the same. So that if you are a reader, or if you are a watcher, if you're an audience member, and unless you're a Wilde scholar, you won't know the difference. You won't know what I have written and what Wilde has written. That was the big challenge. And it has been a big challenge. But it has been one that has absolutely thrilled me. This has been an incredible experience for me. And I would not have had this experience, I would not have learned these lessons and proven to myself had I said no. So, here's the thing, writers. When your muse gives you an idea for a new book or a new poem or the new lyrics to a song, don't say no. Say yes to your muse. Even if your muse hands you this idea and that idea makes you want to run into a corner, put on a straitjacket, and knock it back and forth, counting to 10 over and over again. Even if that happens, say yes. And even if that work, inspired by that incredibly challenging idea that your muse gave you, even if it doesn't see the light of day, say yes, because you will be better for the challenge. And the byproduct of this is that when word gets out that you are reliable, that you can pull through, that you can pull something challenging off, people, more and more people, will come to you. And sometimes it only takes one instance of this. Sometimes you only have to have one artistic director, one editor of a series, or one other author to reach out to you and for you to say yes to them to change the trajectory of your career. Saying no will not do that. Well, saying no could change the trajectory of your career, but not in a way that you want it to change. Especially if you say no enough. You say no too many times, and all of a sudden nobody's going to come to you. All of a sudden there aren't going to be all these magnificent projects laid at your feet. These are gifts. Your muse gives you these gifts. Other artists give you these gifts. Organizations give you these gifts. Take them, accept them, and follow through with them. Unless for personal or professional reasons you need to say no, say yes. And you'll know. At some point in your career, you'll reach that point where you have to say no. I'm just too busy. And when you reach back out to that person that has asked you to do something, you say, I would love to do this, but I'm overbooked right now. They can't hold that against you. They can't. If they do, then they're in the wrong. But say yes as often as you can. Say yes to yourself, to your muse, to your instinct, especially your instinct. Always say yes to your instinct. Don't deny that. Saying yes will further your career. It really just boils down to that. Saying yes will move your career forward. Saying no will either stop it or push it back. And that's it. That's my big piece of advice this week, Muse. Not that you need to hear it, but I'm pretty sure that there's some people out there that do need to hear what I have to say. And I also know that, like you, Muse, those people are awesome.